What's up, y'all? In this video, I'll go over how to set up parameter locks on the Sonicware Lofi-12 XT. The basic premise of parameter locks is having the settings of a note be different on a specific step than what they are on the other steps in the sequence. In an ordinary sequencer, you can adjust basic settings for each note, like the velocity, pitch, or note number, but parameter locks let you go a level beyond that and set other parameters to be controlled on those steps. Things like filter controls, send effects, reverb, delay, and many other things. In general, if you can change the settings using one of the 4 knobs, then you can probably parameter lock it. There's a lot to cover, so let's check it out. Let's start by going over how to edit the basic parameters of steps you've already recorded into the step sequencer. Each of the steps in your pattern is represented by these numbered buttons. The buttons that are lit up red have notes recorded to them, and when the step sequencer reaches the lit up steps, it'll play the sound you have loaded to the track. You can adjust the settings of the recorded steps by holding the function button down, then pressing one of the lit up numbered step buttons. Here we can see basic parameter data for the note on that step, like the velocity of the note or the microtiming percentage. You can select different parameters to adjust by using the up and down arrows, and you can adjust the value of the parameters by turning the B knob. You can also move between steps by pressing the left and right button. This will take you to the next step that has a note recorded to it. If you have steps in your sequence that have multiple notes recorded to them, you can access the parameters of the next note on that step by pressing down until you reach the next note. Each note will always start with the note parameter at the top. There's also this handy visual indicator when in pad mode, which shows the note you have active in red and the other notes in green. And you can tap the green pads to jump to the parameters of that note. So by default, the step edit menu will have the standard set of parameters like velocity, note letter and number, etc. But you can add other parameters to a step by holding the numbered step button down, then turning a knob of the parameter you want to adjust on that step. Then the parameter and value will get added to the step. So as an example, I'll pitch down the snare on step 13 by going to the sound page, then holding the number 13 step button down, then turning the B knob, which controls pitch. So now the snare will play pitch down 1 semitone on this step. And as I mentioned before, pretty much anything you can adjust using the A, B, C, or D knobs can be parameter locked. There are a few ways to tell if a value is parameter locked on that step. One indicator is that the numbered step button will be a different color. If the step has at least one note on it, it'll appear as yellow instead of red. And if the step doesn't have a note on it, it'll appear as orange. You can also tell if you're on the page for that parameter. You'll see a plus icon next to the name of the parameter that has a lock on the track. This page will also highlight the parameter and value that's locked if you hold down the numbered step button. And the final place you can see the parameter lock is on the step edit screen. The parameter locks will be at the bottom of this list, so you can press up to quickly navigate to the bottom and see the names and values of the parameters. The step edit menu also allows you to edit a parameter lock by changing the value that it's locked to with the B knob. And you can delete the parameter lock by highlighting it in this menu, then holding the function button down and pressing the clear button. Another way to remove parameter locks is to clear all locks from the track. To do this, hold the clear button, then press the track button down for the track you want to clear the parameter locks from. Then select the lock option and press OK. Seeing the parameter locks is useful, but hearing them is just as important. There are a few ways to quickly preview what your parameter locks sound like. The first method is to use the step preview shortcut. You can hold the OK button and then press the numbered step button. This will play all notes on that step, including any that have parameter locks you've added. The other method is to play the pattern, which can be helpful if you want to hear the parameter lock note in context with the rest of the arrangement. But instead of pressing play to start the sequence at the beginning and waiting for it to get to the step that you've parameter locked, you can start playback later in the sequence by holding the numbered step button down, then pressing the play button. Let's go over some common use cases. One very useful parameter lock target is the sample that the note will play. Normally, the note will trigger whatever sample you have assigned to that track, and you can only assign one sample per track. But you can parameter lock a different sample to play on that track instead by adjusting the sample slot number for that step. For example, this track has a kick drum loaded, so I'll parameter lock a snare drum to step 5. One helpful tip for selecting the right sample is to turn on loop mode using the right auxiliary button. Now you can use the step preview shortcut by holding OK and then pressing the numbered step button, and that will continuously play samples as you scroll through the slots, so you can hear what sample you're selecting. And then I'll add a hi-hat to steps 3 and 7. Just keep in mind that whatever samples you assign to the slots will inherit all the other settings of the track: levels, delay, send effects, filter, and whatever else you might have altered. So you may have to do additional parameter locks to adjust settings if they don't sound good with the samples you targeted. Another useful parameter lock target is pitch. This can be especially good for sliced samples, since unlike a sample in poly or mono voice mode that you can play chromatically across the keys, the pitch of all the chops will match what you set in the sound waveform page and the pad screen. So you sort of get locked into that pitch, unless you use parameter locks. So for this example, I'll parameter lock the pitch down a few semitones on the last sample chops of this pattern to create a more unique melody. You can hear something odd is happening with step number 8. I think since this note spans multiple steps, it starts the parameter locked pitch, but then reverts to the original pitch on the next step. So sometimes you have to repeat the lock on adjacent steps to have it sound the way you want. That sounds better. The last example I have is parameter locking a note's envelope release parameter to have it sustain through the end of a pattern. Normally when you record a note, it'll sustain until you let go of the pad. But if you're using real-time recording and the pattern resets while you're playing a note, the note will get cut off and stop short. So you can hear the note on step 16 is getting cut off once it reaches the end of the pattern. But you can extend the note by going to the amp page and parameter locking a higher release value on the step that the note triggers. So now you can hear the bass note holds for longer. So those are the basics of parameter locking and a few functional use cases. Using this technique can get you a lot of control over your sequences and sounds, so it's definitely worth practicing. And that does it for this video. Thanks for watching, see you next time.